Hi, I'm Bishoy Pramanik. I'm a computer science major with a minor in biology. I'm in my sophomore year, and today I'm conducting my interview on microbes and their impact on society. Today I'm interviewing Sanat. Sanat, could you introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, my name is Sanat. I'm a sophomore in electrical engineering and I'm a student at the University of Florida.
Sanat was diagnosed with COVID when it first started going around, so that was 4 years ago. Sanat was 15, and now he's 19. Um, Sanat, could you tell us a little bit about um, long COVID and the effects it's having on you?
Well, having long COVID is pretty difficult to live with. Every day feels like you have allergies and you're congested. Sometimes I have difficulty breathing, I cough a lot, I have trouble sleeping at times, and oftentimes my muscles are aching and I'm fatigued, so it makes it especially hard to walk to class.
Sanat, could you tell us a little? Sanat, could you tell us a little bit? Sanat, could you tell us a little bit about long COVID and how it's affected you?
Yeah, having long COVID is very difficult to live with. Oftentimes, I experience shortness of breath. It's hard to breathe at times. I cough a lot, and it's hard to do anything physical, like walk, especially walking to class or even going to the gym to work out. And oftentimes, I experience muscle fatigue, and it's difficult to sleep because of having long COVID.
Okay. Um, Long COVID is usually what happens after some people get COVID. There are some lasting symptoms. It's almost like a chronic illness, but it's distinct, and it's long COVID. Um, Sanat, could you tell us a little bit about um, schools and how would you say how do schools treat you, and how would you like schools to treat you with long COVID and people like that?
Well, I feel like it's difficult to go to school with long COVID, and much less be an engineering student, because there's so much work involved. And missing class is it's such a pain because honestly there's so much work, so much content that's covered, and a lot of times I find myself really tired, or I can't go to class because I can't walk. I didn't sleep enough last night. My legs hurt and I can't. It's really difficult. I think that often a lot of professors are now posting their lectures online, which is a big help, but sometimes some professors don't, which makes it difficult to catch up on their content or even learn everything I missed. It makes me behind. I have to relearn all the concepts that all my classmates have learned earlier. I have to miss labs because I didn't know how to do them. And a lot of times office hours are also difficult to go to because a lot of some TAs have them in person, and especially something that fits with my schedule is kind of difficult. And not only that, there's also a social stigma as well. If you're sick, obviously because of the COVID pandemic, everyone's more cautious. So if you can cough, people will start to see you differently, or they won't talk, and it's kind of hard to live with. It takes a hit on your social life, especially.
Okay, thank you for saying that. Um, how do you see long COVID affecting the workforce, for people like you, and how would you want companies to adapt to engineering students?
Well, I think the best solution would be to allow for continuous work from home. I know it's not the ideal case for a lot of companies, and I know some companies do this, but a lot of the times companies require people or workers or employees to come in at least like once or twice a week, and I guess that's reasonable. But sometimes you can wake up and I'll be fatigued, or my legs will hurt. I'll have shortness of breath. I can't walk, or I haven't slept at all that night, and because again of my long COVID. So it would be difficult. I think uh, continuous working from home would really help.
You mentioned working from home. That applies for the workforce, when we get jobs. But more than that, I also think that could really help, the schoolwork. Would you want there to be more online options when it comes to like our own classes at UF?
Yes, I know different majors have online classes, but for electrical engineering specifically, a lot of the classes and lectures are in person, and oftentimes it's difficult to learn the content if I can't go to class. So I feel like definitely having at least online lectures would help significantly for people like me who have chronic illnesses to pick up content and also learn as well at the same level as any regular student.
And then for my third question, um, what stigmas and perceptions do you think people around you have about long COVID, and how would you say that affects you?
Well, I'd say it's the same as anyone uh, having COVID. When you think someone has COVID, you don't like to go near them. You don't want to talk to them because, again, you don't want to get sick. And this again started because of the pandemic, and people just it just impacts you socially a lot, especially with the name long COVID. It's even worse because people correlate that to regular COVID, and they think, oh, I'm gonna get sick because or he has long COVID, so he's gonna give it to me, and it's difficult to live with that. And especially, and some people don't even think long COVID is real, which it's worse because they just think you're faking, or they think that you have some other illness and you're just covering, saying you have long COVID.
Mhm. Would you say that that also affects, the ways your, the DRC has been affecting, or DSC has been treating people like you with long COVID when it comes to school accommodations, like absences?
Yeah, I don't think there's accommodations for people with chronic illnesses like long COVID because again, I don't think there's awareness for it honestly, and because of that, I don't think people think it's real, and oftentimes absences don't get excused. You just get the grade for classes who have attendance mandatory. You grade just drops, and you don't get any accommodation or anything like that.
Okay. Recently, I had read an article from the New York Times about a guy who went to Princeton who also had long COVID. Um, he used to be in a wheelchair when he went to class, and his doctors, because there are no medication, there are no drugs that actually treat long COVID. Doctors often prescribe medication to deal with the symptoms, so like headaches, muscle pain, um, heart problems. A lot of times there's fatigue, and all of this often leads to mental health problems on their own. This student actually overcame that, and now he plays club basketball at Princeton. What do you think about that, Samant?
Well, that's something really inspiring, especially because I have long COVID, and I can relate to him, and it's inspiring that he was able to go from being in a wheelchair to obviously playing basketball, which is such a demanding sport on its own. And I feel like if he can do it, I can maybe read about him more, learn what he did, and maybe apply that to my life as well.
So now I also read an article from CNN, backed up by Nature, another article I read. It seems like people with long COVID are much more likely to get sick in the future. Those who are older, especially, but even people as long as 19, according to Nature article, seems they're 40%, 50%, even 60% more likely to be infected. Has that affected you in any way?
Yeah, actually, a few weeks ago, I had the flu along with long COVID, and that was a nightmare on its own because, again, having a flu, it's no picnic. And especially having long COVID on top of that, I couldn't get out of bed for a couple of days. I couldn't walk to class. I couldn't do anything. And teachers weren't as accommodating because, again, long COVID, it's not that mainstream, so not many people know about it. So attendances, or absences would deduct from my grade, and it wasn't great at all. And I feel like being more prone to getting sick is it's honestly such a disadvantage because it makes me miss more classes, and missing classes, especially in engineering, is such a struggle because it's such a hard major. So it's very rigorous, and there's a lot of effort required, and I can't put the same effort as other people because of my illness.
Okay, Sanat, so could you maybe tell us some kind of, what message would you want our audience to take home with us, knowing about long COVID and, chronic illnesses like that, people who are immunocompromised?
Well, I think the main thing to take home is that be aware that there are germs, obviously, but at the same time, don't just ignore someone who's sick. You can still talk to them. They're still a normal person. Just, be cautious, be aware, wash your hands, everything like that.
Yeah, we can be cleanly without, you know, making people feel isolated, right?
Yeah, I agree.
All right, thank you, Snuff, for talking to me today. I really appreciate you coming out. I know it's been hard for you to come out lately. But yeah, thank you.